Hey friend, Church D coming at you once again. Thank you for tuning into What Does It Take to Win? Can you believe the weather's already changing? It's been pretty nice for the last couple of days. I hope everybody had a chance to step out and enjoy the sunshine a bit. I know I did. I needed it. Before you know it, it's going to be summer, and then the year's going to be out. It will be in 2022. Wow, things are just speeding right by. I hope it's not stressing you out. I hope you're able to move with the flow, to go with the flow rather, and just kind of move with the times. So this episode won't be very long. It's actually going to be short and sweet. But before we get into it, I just wanted to let you guys know about the music that I put out, that I released at the end of January, on January 25th, 2021. The latest project is entitled Something's Missing. It's a full-length album with 13 tracks in there. It's classified as R&B, but it has some pretty cool jazz vibes in there. I did a little reggae, some funk, a little hip-hop as well, and I did some singing on there. So if you would like to hear my singing voice, feel free to check it out. Or if you would just like to support me, go for it. Purchase the album. You can purchase it from your favorite platform, or you can stream it anywhere and allow me to collect my coins, as I always like to say. If you want the funding to go directly to me, you can purchase it from my Bandcamp page, and the link will be in the description once you click on my link tree. Just go to where it says Something's Missing album. And on that link, you'll see where it gives you options to purchase, and Bandcamp is on there. So if you purchase it from there, I get the funds instantly. Whereas if you go through other digital distribution agencies, I have to wait a little bit longer to get my check. But it's all good. I'm just glad that you'll be listening to some good music. Feel free to check out my whole catalog of music. Back in 2019, I put out a record by the name of The Cactus, Bare Minimum 2.0. That was my very first album. Has some really cool jazz vibes on there, as I always like to say. 2020, I put out a single by the name of The Vision. That came out March 2020. Again, some more futuristic jazz vibes, some cool piano solos, and a really amazing saxophonist is on that record. Out of Jacksonville, Florida. So that was a great record that I put out. Got a lot of good reviews on that. And finally, I put out an EP by the name of The Big Reveal, and that was at the start of summer 2020. So it was the end of June. I put out The Big Reveal, has 6 amazing tracks on there. And yeah, people love it. So feel free to check out my whole catalog of music. And like I always say, if you're an intelligent person, I make music for you. So I make music for intelligent people. If you don't really like my music, sorry, but you might not fall into that category. Just kidding, people, just kidding. You're intelligent, you're smart, you're kind, you're important, all the above. I crack myself up sometimes, as you can hear rather than see. But yeah, so that's my promo at the beginning. Oh, before I forget, you can also purchase instrumentals and beats from me. If you're a content creator, if you do podcasting, if you do YouTube videos, cooking videos, photography, and you just say, hey man, I need some instrumentals or I need some beats and I want to rap on them or sing on them, you can find them on my SoundClick page. So go to soundclick.com/churchd, or alternatively, you can just click the link that's in the description of this podcast. It's going to take you to all my content. Go to Get Beats or Lease Beats, and you'll find over 100 instrumentals there ready to go. You can go ahead and lease them. They'll have my tag in it, obviously. If you want it without the tag, then the fee will be a little bit different. And if you want exclusive rights, meaning you're the only person who gets to use that beat, then you just have to reach out to me and we can talk about exclusive pricing. I'll send you the stems and everything, and everything will be good to go. So go ahead and click that link in the description. It's going to take you to my link tree, and you'll find all content if you're interested in who I am and getting to know me, getting to know the person behind this podcast, so you can make sure that I'm not crazy and giving you bad advice. Okay, so feel free to do that and be sure to share. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to all of my listeners. I did this in one of my other episodes, but I'd like to do it once more. All my listeners across the United States, the East Coast, Midwest, down South, my listeners in Kenya, my listeners in the United Kingdom, Australia, Germany, Ireland, Switzerland, Japan. I see you guys, and I appreciate you taking the time out to listen. Be sure to share with your friends and family, and just help this podcast grow. And in addition to that, help them out. Give them a mental health break, or if they need some advice and you're not quite sure what to tell them, go ahead and share this podcast with them. I guarantee you they'll love it. That was a mouthful. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the topic of the hour, or the topic of the 15 minutes. So yeah, like I had mentioned, this is going to be short and sweet. And this sort of just came to me, actually, believe it or not, when I was watching basketball. Sometimes I'm just inspired. I don't know where it comes from, but the inspiration just blossoms from like the smallest situations or different things that I'm doing. So this came to me while I was watching basketball. And the topic of this podcast will be, you're not perfect, and that's what makes you perfect. So we're going to be talking about perfection in this episode. Okay. So I have 3 quick points that I'd like to bring up and discuss during this episode. The first point is striving for perfection creates greater restrictions. The second point is that accepting your imperfections is actually the breeding ground for freedom. And the third and final point is that you can breathe when you finally make a mistake. Crazy, right? Well, it's not that crazy, and I'll show you why. So let's start off with the first point of striving for perfection. Now, before we jump into it, I just want to say we're always, believe it or not, striving for perfection. We're always wanting to perfect our imperfections. And honestly, that's not what's needed in this life. It's okay to be imperfect. I want to start off by defining the word perfection. Now, just like anybody else would do, I went on Google and I just typed in perfection definition, and this is what came up. So you can fact check me if you would like. So the definition of perfection is the condition, state, or quality of being free, or as free as possible from all flaws or defects. So let me read that to you one more time, and I'll read it a little bit slower so you can really capture what I'm trying to drive home. Perfection, the condition, state, or quality of being free, or as free as possible from all flaws or defects. Maybe I didn't read that much slower. I'm going to read it one more time, okay? 3 is sometimes the charm. Perfection, the condition, state, or quality of being free, or as free as possible from all flaws or defects. So what does that tell you about perfection? Perfection isn't even perfect. It says explicitly in that definition that perfection is being as free as possible from all flaws, meaning that you're still going to possess some flaws, even if you are perfect. Wow. Let that sit and resonate. So that means you can't actually be perfect. So stop striving to be perfect, because perfect isn't even perfect. You'll create greater restrictions. You'll end up putting more pressure on yourself by trying to be perfect. You'll end up taking less risks due to fear of losing your perfect record. Now, I'm not a huge risk taker, but sometimes you have to take a risk in order to grow, in order to get what you want, in order to see progress in life. The biggest risk a lot of people have taken is going to college. I know, believe it or not, it's a major risk. Why is it a risk? Because you're putting yourself into hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and you don't have a guaranteed career for after you graduate. Now, if you're listening to my podcast and you haven't gone to college yet, or you're currently a college student studying undergrad and you're like, man, I should drop out or I should not go to college. Nope, that's not what I'm saying. Don't send your parents after me to say, hey, Church D said I don't have to be in college because it's putting me in debt. No. But what I'm saying is it's a major risk that you're taking in order to ensure a better future, because there's no guarantee that after you graduate and you get your degree that you'll be employed. Everybody is going into a higher learning and higher education these days, and it's becoming more and more competitive. There simply aren't enough jobs. Or are there enough jobs? That's another topic to discuss. But there's simply just going to be a lot of competition for one job. One job requires the degree and the experience, there's going to be thousands of candidates trying to apply to that same one job. So it's almost impossible to say that, okay, college is going to ensure that I will have a successful career going forward. That's a risk. And it's not necessarily a bad risk to take. You'd have to look at that and search within and say, okay, is this something I want to do? That was a little bit besides the point. So let me just jump right back onto what I was trying to sort of drive home. I'm going to, in this point with this scenario, and as I mentioned, I was watching basketball, and that's what inspired this topic. The game I was watching, there was a specific player who was scoring, who was doing everything perfect from the field. And what that means is all the shots they took, they did not miss. And it got to the point where the people who were commenting on the game, like the commentators, they were like, hey, don't shoot it anymore. Don't take these shots. Don't do any more field goal attempts just to protect the perfect record. Now, imagine if that player's team was not winning and he had this perfect record. He's being told, oh, don't shoot the ball anymore because, you want to protect your perfect record. And you have the coaching staff in your ear saying, okay, we're going to take you out the game so you can finish perfect. And then that's going to go in the history books as the only player who finished this game perfect or whatever. But his team still needed to win. They could end up losing that game because they need his points, or they need him to, make certain moves that will be a threat to his perfect stat line. Okay, so he would need to take risks, but because the team or everybody around him is so determined to keep that perfect record, he's now restricted, and he's not free enough to take risks to do something greater like win. Okay, and here's like a shameless plug. The topic of this podcast, the whole series, is what does it take to win? So if we're not going to take risks because we're so bound by being perfect, how are we going to win? Okay, I'll just drop that with you. That's it for point number one. Let's move along quickly to point number two, which says accepting your imperfections is the breeding ground for freedom. Now, the reason why I believe this to be true is that once you're able to accept your imperfections, this will allow you to grow. Being perfect is the end result, believe it or not. Meaning that once you're doing something perfect, once everything in your life is perfect, there's no room for growth. And when something stops growing, it begins to die. Okay. And it doesn't have to be a physical death, but you're plateauing. You're not making any progress. You're just there. You're existing at this point. And that's not good. You want to keep growing. You want to keep learning. Even if you're old in age, there's always something new to learn. Prime example, with technology, our parents and our grandparents, they're not as familiar as we are with technology, and they're much older than we are. Do you think we should say, hey guys, you don't have to learn anymore. You're old enough. You know everything. No, there's still more to learn. We could show them how to use technology, and they can show us how to do a ton of things that don't involve technology that my generation especially, we're unfamiliar with. We didn't learn it in school, and so on. There's a lot of different things that we can learn. But to circle back to accepting our imperfections and it being the breeding ground of freedom, yes, you're free once you accept that you're not perfect. Have you ever had a role model or somebody you looked up to and everything they did was just perfect to you? They could not make any mistakes at all. But then that one time you catch them making a mistake, it's like, wait, what? You're human? You made a mistake? There's no way you could do that. And it's sort of heartbreaking to see their flaws. I know this happens a lot with people who are, I'm going to try to walk on eggshells with this. People who are put into certain positions, in positions of fame or positions of power. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. And you can just dream on whoever you want to put as your figure or whatever. I don't want to get in any type of trouble. But the moment they make a mistake, the moment they're no longer perfect, It's like you're looking at them sideways. They are no longer who they said they were. But in all actuality, in reality, they're human, just like you and I. And, they're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I want everybody to know that I'm not perfect. I'm doing this podcast to encourage you and give you some tips on how to win in life. But hey, sometimes I'm like, man, what am I doing with my own life? Who can help me? So I have my days as well. I'm not perfect, and don't believe that I'm perfect, because I definitely feel stress as well. But this isn't about me. But yeah, that's pretty much it for point number 2. Once you're able to accept your that you're not perfect, it opens the door for more freedom. You can make those mistakes, and people will say, you know what, that person's human, just like me. We're going to get through this. It's just a roadblock. It's just a little bump in the road. It's going to be all good. Cool. So that was point number 2. Let's move on down to my third and final point, which is you can breathe when you finally make a mistake. Deep breath in, exhale out. Sometimes we get into our heads and worry about making a mistake. Whether if it's performing a task and making a mistake, or showing a different side of who we are. And our personality ends up not being as impressive as we would want it to be. And we may offend people, we got to just stop that. We have to get out of our heads and say, you know what, it's okay if we make mistakes. Kind of like what I said in point number 2. Go ahead and make the mistake and say, oops. If you remain humble enough, you can come back from any mistake and grow. In fact, you'll also realize that the mistake that you made was very minor and it can be corrected and perfected. Now, let's pause right here because I always have to clarify certain things. Don't go out making mistakes that you know will end up hurting other people. So if you are dating, if you are married, if you are involved with other people, don't say, oh, well, Church D says I can go out and make mistakes and be like, oops, and then come back to whoever I'm with. Nah, fam, that's not how it works. Don't do that. Use wisdom with these things. And so on, even if it's not like relational, but if it's like at a job and you're like, well, let me go ahead and just blow this job and make all the mistakes I want because Church D said to do it. Do not do that. Use wisdom. Don't go out there and purposely make mistakes in those settings. But if you do make mistakes, again, learn from those mistakes and just use it as an opportunity to grow. I said this, I'm sure, in a different episode. I've been doing so many episodes lately. I'm starting to lose track. I'm getting old now. I'm just talking a lot. So if I'm sounding redundant, say a quick prayer for me. I'll get it together. There's a lot on my mind, peoples. But I digress. I want to leave you with this. Well, I'm not sure if I'll leave you with this. I might have another point, but I'm into music. So I'm a musician. I play piano and a couple other instruments. I produce, all the above, right? Cool beans. So sometimes when I'm playing piano at gigs or if I'm touring or whatever, I make a ton of mistakes. Even when I'm practicing, I make a ton of mistakes, and that's okay. Some of these mistakes actually lead me into new ideas or new chords and different chord progressions. The reason why I play the way I do is because I've made so many mistakes. I'd hit a couple notes and I'm like, whoa, I didn't mean to hit that note, but that actually sounds pretty good. How can I apply this to my playing, or how can I apply this to these songs that they want me to play, and so on. That would not have happened. Well, it could have happened, but that would not have happened as quickly if I didn't just jump in and be fearless and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try this out, but I'm going to make a mistake here and try to correct it. So make your mistakes. Okay, I think I'll leave you with this last point. Well, it's not a point, but it's part of point 3. So another area in which I made mistakes were in relationships. I made a ton of mistakes in relationships. Not those like crazy ones where you guys like, ooh, what did he do to that? No. Not like that. It's just, I was young and then I didn't understand a lot of stuff. So I'd be like, oh, I don't get it. Why are you acting like that? Why do I have to do this? And so on. But because I made those mistakes when I was younger, now I'm able to give grade A advice when people come to me and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling about this situation with this individual. What would you recommend? And the light bulb would go off, would turn on in my mind. And I'd be like, I've been through that before. That's actually not a big deal. This is how you deal with it, and this is how you guys can work through this together, and so on. So that's pretty much it for point number 3. This went on a little bit longer than I had anticipated, but I hope it's been a blessing to you. So let's just do a quick recap of the 3 points. Point number 1 is that striving for perfection creates greater restrictions. You'll end up putting more pressure on yourself by trying to be perfect. Point number 2, accepting your imperfections is the breeding ground for freedom. Hey, it's all good. Like, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And it's fine. Be free. And the third and final point is you can finally breathe once you make a mistake. Make that mistake. It's all good, because once you make the mistake, you'll know exactly what needs to be corrected and perfected. Thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope it blessed you and I hope it encouraged you. Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to share this. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with people you don't even like. Share it with that person who keeps bothering you for advice. I got you covered. And lastly, if you'd like to connect with me, just click the link in the description for all of my content. I have some great things in store for you. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.